Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Hi, Sarah. Good to
Hey,
see you.
Lisa. Yeah, nice to see you too. It's been a while.
It's a while.
Familiar faces. I always like that.
David, you look like you're in Alaska. Where are you?
I'm in a virtual Alaska environment. Right now I'm beneath my air vent, and I have to dress accordingly because standing up and sitting down and doing these Zoom conferences, you just need to be acclimated for any kind of environment.
I hear that.
Definitely. Well, welcome.
How are you doing, Lisa?
Yeah.
I'm doing great. I'm sitting in my RV.
Talk about being prepared for any kind of environment. That's awesome.
You don't like the weather, you just drive away.
Right, exactly. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Stem on wheels.
Yeah. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Build Your Own Teen Innovation Challenge Teacher Camp. We're so excited to have each and every one of you. We would like for you to introduce yourselves. So if you feel comfortable, feel free to just tell us your name and where you're from, or if you feel more comfortable typing it in the chat box, please do so at this time.
I can go. My name's Sarah Caviar, as you can see, and I am a Director of Innovation and a teacher in Pacific Palisades, California.
Nice.
Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, I can go next. My name is Shamima Parveen. I am dialing in from Dubai, from United Arab Emirates. It's pretty dark out here.
Wow.
Midnight.
What time is it there, Shamima?
It's 12 midnight.
You're so dedicated. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I was curious. I wanted to be at least on the first day online to see what's happening. Maybe next week. I'm not sure. It depends on how I sleep. So, but I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. Oh, it looks like we have another teacher from Dubai.
We have a couple. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, we're excited about that. We have Michelle from New York, Lawrence from Dubai. Welcome.
Your audio quality isn't great, Hannah.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Sorry.
I always forget to switch microphones. My laptop microphone is horrible. So, hi, I'm Hannah Lakin. I work for a nonprofit in Maine, and we are focused on STEM education and supporting teachers.
Fantastic.
Welcome. Awesome. Okay, we have Shay from Southern California, Sandy from San Diego.
Hi, everybody. I'm Judy from San Diego.
Hi, Judy. Welcome.
Hi, Judy.
It's great to see you again.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Beth. I'm from Carlsbad, California.
Welcome. Okay, so I see some people coming through in the chat. Anyone else want to welcome themselves verbally before we get started?
My name is David Conover, and I'm calling in from Austin, Texas.
David, always happy to see you.
Right back at you.
We love seeing familiar faces and new ones, but it's always good to, it's a little mix of both, and it's great.
Yeah.
David is one of our ambassadors and partners in crime as we evolve this project. So we're really happy to see you today, David.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you all enough for the invitation. And let's make an impactful, Pactful initiative here.
Wonderful, wonderful. I see we have Alice from Orange County, Natalie from San Diego, Yolanda also from San Diego. I see San Diego's representing today. Maria also from San Diego, and Jill, okay, from San Diego as well. So wonderful.
San Diego, Maine, Texas, Dubai.
Yes.
Even though I live in Maine, I used to live in San Diego, and my heart is there.
Well, at this time, I'll introduce myself and I'll ask Lisa and Monty to introduce themselves as well. My name is Alina Mitchell, and I am the Learning Experience Specialist for the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education at the University of San Diego. And I provide a lot of teacher support for Pactful, and so we will be talking about that today in addition to the teacher challenge. And so we are really excited just to have you with us today, and happy that you could join our efforts to help build and design a better world. Lisa or Monty?
Hi, I'm Lisa Dolly. I'm the Executive Director of the Jacobs Institute. I'm so happy to see some of my old friends here. Hi, Shay. Among others, Sarah, David, and welcome to new people, and I hope that we'll get to be great colleagues and friends as well. And this is a passion project and a heartfelt mission for me, Monty, and Alina. And when we say that we believe teachers and students can build a better world, we really believe that. And we're just trying to support that process in any way.
Thanks, Lisa. And I'm Monty Kalish. I've been hounding you with various emails and reminders, and the Director of Technology for the Jacobs Institute. And Lisa already sort of introduced Pactful, but it's been a great project over the last year and a half to kind of bring this to life. And now we're taking the next step with you guys here today with camp. So thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. And by the way, I thank so many of you who already introduced yourself on the community. There's been a lot of activity, especially leading up to today, which is fantastic. That we're trying to build that community up a little bit, and Alina will be talking more, but I think we're going to be using the community sort of throughout, and then it's available beyond camp. So thank you and welcome.
Yes, and I would just like to follow up and say, if you have not introduced yourselves formally in the Pactful community, please make sure that you do so, because we want to just get a sense of who's participating, a little bit more about your educational background. And again, we are excited to have you. And so we'll go ahead and get started, but if some of you are still coming in and you haven't had a chance to introduce yourself, please feel free to type your name in the chat, and also where you're from. All right, so we're going to jump right in. So many of you signed up because you want to learn how to build your own Teen Innovation Challenge. So we're going to start with, what exactly does that mean? Well, building your own Teen Innovation Challenge means that you are designing a competition for teenagers that empowers them to create innovative solutions to local and global issues. Oftentimes, teenagers don't feel that they really have the power to make a big impact in the world, and they'll just leave it to us adults. But we know that is definitely not true, that they are more than capable. And so there are many youth around the world who are currently making a difference, and we can continue to push the students that we teach on a daily basis to do the same. And Monty, I see you have a note in there that if there's
I was just letting people know throughout this whole camp experience, because we're going to talk about some tech things and access to platforms and stuff. And if you run into any trouble now or later, just feel free to drop me a note. And just as a reminder, in case you forget the email or whatever, you can always click on that Contact Us link at the bottom of any page on the website or the app.
Wonderful. Okay, let's continue on. This teacher camp will help you to gain access to Pactful and navigate throughout the curriculum. It will also help you to successfully launch your own Teen Innovation Challenge at your school. It will help you to develop and understand design thinking, the United Nations global goals, and develop an innovator's mindset. And it will also help you to create planning materials that you can use to share with other educators, your local administration, school board members, and more. And I also wanted to add in that upon completion of this teacher camp and all of our requirements, you will receive a certificate of completion and will be eligible for a graduate extension credit offered at the University of San Diego through our PCE or Continuing Ed office. And you may use that towards our Ed Innovation Professional Learning Certificate, or you could submit it to your school district for professional development credit. And we are excited to say that 5 lucky individuals will receive a complimentary graduate extension credit on behalf of the Jacobs Institute at the end of this camp. All right, so before we continue on, I want to do a short poll just to see how familiar are you with the design thinking process. Okay. See the results coming in. Awesome. Okay, I think everyone has participated, so I'm going to end and share the results. Okay, so we see that we have some who aren't familiar at all. Looks like we have some who are somewhat familiar, and we have a few who are extremely familiar. And that's great, because I just wanted to poll you just to kind of get an idea of our audience awareness of the design thinking process. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Right. Okay, so we're going to talk about Pactful. And Pactful is an online curriculum that does walk students through the design thinking process. It was developed at the Jacobs Institute for Innovation in Education, and the goal is to help teens to become social good innovators. So let's talk a little bit about social good. Social good is defined as working collaboratively to create solutions for the betterment of the whole. And in our case, the whole would be the whole world. Pactful is aligned to the United Nations global goals to improve the planet. And the curriculum introduces students and teachers to the design thinking process. I'm going to take a moment to share with you our short video on Pactful.
Anyone can be a social innovator. Social innovation is all about people around the world working together to solve local and global problems. In 2015, the United Nations agreed to make the world a better place by establishing 17 global goals. These goals offer a framework to address large social challenges such as poverty, hunger, and climate change. Here, you'll develop an innovator's mindset to tackle any challenge and create solutions aligned to the global goal. These solutions could be something as small as how to handle food waste at home, or as large as how to provide clean drinking water to anyone in your city. To make the world a better place, it takes people like you working in teams. Using the design thinking process, you'll identify issues, brainstorm ideas, and prototype incredible new solutions to problems that affect us. Your team will work through 3 phases of design thinking: understand, ideate, and prototype to create a solution for a local or global issue. When complete, you'll also develop a pitch to share your work with a larger audience. Have you ever realized that everything in the world is designed, but not all designs are good? With an innovator's mindset and design thinking, you will redesign the world and make it a better place. Get ready to become a bold and powerful innovator.
Okay. All right, continuing on, as the video mentioned, the curriculum is aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the SDGs or Global Goals. These goals were created by world leaders, and they cover issues that range from social, physical, environmental issues, and more. And so by addressing these issues, students can engage within their communities to make an impact on the world. And so some of the examples include, as you can see here, poverty, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and more. And they address issues at both the micro and the macro level. And so these are a good gauge of some of the common issues that we all experience globally. And so that was one of the reasons why we selected them. So with that being said, I have a short activity that I want you to participate in. Okay, so we're going to do a primer activity called the Digital SDGs Pinboard. And this activity is also found in the teacher's guide. The purpose of it is so that you can showcase your initial understanding of the SDGs. This is actually an activity that you can do with students in your own classroom. Today we'll be using the platform Padlet.com. And of course, there are many other digital pinboards, but I like Padlet because it's a great way to collaborate and share our responses in real time. So I'm going to explain the instructions to you first, and then we'll get started. So you're going to choose one of the SDGs. No worries, the SDG table along with the activity instructions are actually on the Padlet pinboard, so you don't have to memorize anything. Then you're going to add an image that represents your SDG using the search feature on your post, and I'll show you how to do that. Then you're going to caption it. And last but not least, you're just going to put your name in the comment section so we know that that post belongs to you. And then you can feel free to like and comment on any other posts that you may feel. And I do have a few examples in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the chat box. Oh, sorry, let me do that. Okay, here we go. Try that again. Link in the chat box. Okay, Monty did it as well, thank you. The password, as you can see on the screen, is design. So again, you're gonna click the link in the chat box and then type in the password design. So I'm gonna go to that screen so I can see you guys log in. So hold on one second. Okay, here we go. Okay, and so the way that you would, and feel free to type in the chat if you're having any difficulty, but it should link you right directly into the Pinboard. And the way that you would add your post would be to click this pink plus sign here that turns into a pencil. You just click it, you type the SDG that you want to address at the top. So let's say we were using clean water and sanitation. And then you wanted to add your picture in. You would just click this, looks like a world here. It says Google, click on that. And then you see the title already pops in the search box here. And then you can just select the picture that you think best represents your SDG, and then just click it. And then there it is. And then if you want to caption it, I'll just call this one Clean Hands. I know it's not super creative, but it'll do. And then put my name. Let's see. Let me, okay. Well, actually, you don't have to put your name in because your name should automatically pop in at the top. But if it doesn't, you should add it in as a comment. And then you can like, and you just click this heart here to like it. Oh, I see some pictures coming in. Awesome. We have gender equality. Love that. We have good health and well-being. See some more pictures. Life on land, nature rocks. Ooh, nice. That's where I want to be right now. Oh, life below water. I like that one too. I'm a scuba diver, so I appreciate life below water. Let's see. Okay, wonderful. Look at all of these creative posts coming through. And as you see, this is an activity that could be done in a virtual environment. I mean, it could be done in a classroom setting as well, but especially now since most of us are going virtual, we can use it. Oh, we have poverty. That's a good one. Wonderful, wonderful. So I love how this, as you see, it's updating in real time, so I can see your posts as they come through. Wonderful. Lovely, I love it. Feel free to like other posts as well. I see, okay, a couple of you liking them. I'm gonna try to like as many. Good health and well-being, we can do it. I love that. I'll give everyone like one more minute before we keep it going.
The password is design, in case you're having trouble.
Yes, password is design. Oh, I love this. No poverty. Got the graphics over here. Wonderful. This looks so good. Clean water and sanitation. I'm gonna have to screenshot this and we can post it in our community. Love it. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll go back to the presentation itself. And if you didn't finish, that's okay. Go ahead and finish and then you can join us. Okay, so now I wanted to talk to you about how Pactful works. Within the Pactful curriculum, students work through the design thinking process to create a solution. Design thinking is a non-linear, iterative process which seeks to understand users, challenge assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. Students will follow 3 phases. We have understand, ideate, and prototype. And I want to, since we are talking about non-linear, I want to share that Pactful is set up to where students don't have to follow the phases in a particular order. For example, let's say they already have a solution in mind. They're at the prototype level. Well, they could actually start at prototype and then go back to understand. And then let's say after they do complete understanding, they want to jump to ideate. And then after they've learned a little bit more about their solution, and they say, hey, you know what, we want to go back to prototype and continue to work and develop it. Pactful is set up for students to matriculate through the curriculum like that. And it's great because innovation doesn't always occur in a neat, linear pattern all of the time. And so Pactful allows for students to have autonomy in the way that they navigate through the curriculum. And most educators know that anytime students have a choice or autonomy, they are way more engaged in the process. Once the students have completed all of the design thinking phases, then they will create a pitch to tell the story of their innovative solution. Now, I want to share with you that Pactful is one of several design thinking models. There are other design thinking models out there. And so we have this comparative grid matrix here that shows you some of the other design thinking models in comparison to Pactful. And I love this graphic and I love sharing it because one of our teachers who uses Pactful and participated in our Changemaker Challenge this past spring actually created this. And so we just tweaked it a little bit and we love to share. So I say that to emphasize that we believe in developing positive relationships with our teachers. Communication is always open. Dialogue comes on both ways, as you know. And so if there is an idea that you have that you would like to share, we are more than open to growing and developing this curriculum with you, educators, because you're the ones actually using it in your classrooms. And so we value your input.
And just to jump in, I will say that that's true for everything you're going to experience, including the platform and the curriculum. If there's anything that you run across that either is confusing or you think should work differently, or curriculum comments that you think could be improved or changed, or anything along that, part of this whole process is that, you know, we've gone through a closed beta phase, we've gone through some open beta, we've actually run some challenge stuff, but just like anything, it's never done. And we're continuing to make adjustments all the time, but we need feedback and support from you. So feel free, again, that's that contact link at the bottom. You can just put in a quick comment or suggestion anytime you may think it comes to mind. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, there are many benefits of Pactful. So we've already mentioned about how it's a linear learning process. But we also want to share that Pactful mirrors innovation that occurs in the workplace, and it avoids constraints, including grades. However, it is completely at the teacher's discretion if you want to apply grades to the phases with your students, but Pactful itself is not constrained to that. Pactful is a fully developed curriculum, which is really helpful for teachers, and it includes a guide, an innovator's guide, and activities, and we'll be going into details about that. Teamwork is encouraged. As a matter of fact, it is set up for students to work in teams. Now, of course, a student could, do it alone, but again, teamwork is really what we're emphasizing here. And it allows students to engage socially with their peers and to grow with them. Students are given the autonomy, again, not just to go through the design thinking phases, but they're also given autonomy to choose their own global goal, their own project title, their group name, and also their own innovative solution. So it's very student driven. And lastly, Pactful encourages and supports teacher feedback loops. And this is a continuous process for teachers to be able to communicate back and forth with their students. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So I do want to mention that Pactful does require the use of a Google account for both teachers and students. Students link the files from Google Drive to the software for teachers to review. Pactful automatically manages permissions so teachers can review and comment on student submissions. And so if you look at this example here, you can see where the teacher did provide overall feedback. You can see the dates, like it's time-stamped when the phase was submitted for the teacher. And then it was returned back to the students with a comment, and then it was resubmitted back to the teacher. And so Pactful allows for continuous feedback from teachers and students, which is a bonus feature. Now, with all of the innovative and creative solutions that your brilliant students are coming up with, we are building a showcase of social good solutions aligned to the global goals. And this collection will become the foundation to further thinking about some of our most challenging issues in the world. We have the capacity to data mine and analyze how students tackle social good innovation. And we can also monitor their progress. And so as you see here on the screen, you have the green or bluish green check marks that indicate the progress that your students are making. This will help us to understand where students struggle the most and how we can use learning analytics to make improvements on our end. Now, I mentioned earlier the teacher's guide and the innovator's guide. Teachers should begin by reviewing the teacher's guide, which is the ultimate resource for you. It was created to help support teachers as you seek to gain understanding and get started. It even has examples of primer activities like the digital SDG Pinboard activity that we did to help get your students acclimated with new terms such as SDGs and design thinking. And it provides recommended resources and also virtual communities that you can join to connect with other educators who are doing similar work as you. Now, students should begin with the Innovator's Guide. And this introduces them to terms such as social good innovation, design thinking, and more. It also includes detailed information about the SDGs and provides helpful resources on how social good and design thinking is actually being implemented currently throughout the world. So now we're going to go do a general overview of the phases, just so you can fully understand how Pactful is set up. After students review the Innovator's Guide, Monty, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. We got a couple questions, and I
Oh, okay.
tried to answer them via text, but I did want to just kind of address the age and the Google account thing kind of very directly. Right now, as Lena said, we only support leveraging a Google account, and that's for two reasons. One, that helps with the authentication so that we're not tracking usernames and passwords directly in the system. It leverages a Google account. Plus, because of the interaction that she spoke about where student teams will upload their evidence using Google Drive, which could be anything. It doesn't have to be a Google Doc. It could be a picture or a video or any sort of asset that can live in Google Drive. That becomes the mechanism by which their evidence is provided back to the teacher. And we don't actually collect or save that because it's really just a link back to Google Drive. So we're trying to do everything we can to maintain and manage and sort of prevent the collection of student data for the reasons, which also ties into the 13-year-old aspect. We do require students to be 13 plus according to our terms of agreement, and that's simply for regulatory reasons. COPA requires that. There's a lot of challenges in trying to handle and manage students under 13. We've talked about it a few times, but I think it's kind of a combination of alignment between the age we think the curriculum content is all suited for, this type of work, and then the regulatory issue. And I realize that puts some of you in a really, it puts you in a bind, particularly if you have those students in the same class who are on the cusp. And so I don't have a great solution for you right there. It's something that we are aware of. And Judy, for example, has been in this mix with us for a long time.
I did want to make a comment too, and it came up from Sandy asking about working with sixth graders. And this would apply to everybody, that the app itself, which hosts the curriculum and is a platform for supporting you as you're working through design thinking, you may or may not decide to use it as you're running your challenge event. It's an open source curriculum, so you can take the materials in there and repurpose them in other ways if that works better for you. But we do provide the platform for those that want to use it. And so don't worry about if you're feeling like, oh God, another technology tool. You actually don't have to use the tool. And I do want to put that out there as a caveat, because what we're really trying to support is social good innovation, not necessarily getting people to log into an app.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to continue to talk about the understand phase, which is where students will seek to discover and research more about their global goal. And this is the point where they will gather facts, stories, and other key details through interviews and observations. And so the activities are set up to where they will introduce students on how to conduct an interview. How do they create key questions? How do they analyze the information that they've received and find patterns and key points that they can really pull from it. So students are taught throughout this process to remain objective and to understand that that problems are complex. And they're not always simple. So it is important that they learn at this age to remove any assumptions that they have. Next, after understand, is the ideate phase. And again, I'm going in a linear order for this presentation. However, students don't have to as they go throughout the curriculum. The ideate phase is the phase where students will state the problem, a very clear problem, and then they get a chance to brainstorm all of those wonderful ideas about their global goal, and then narrow it down to one. And so Pactful includes activities that allow them to walk through this process together, especially as a team, because we know that sometimes it's difficult for students to work together and then to select one idea over the next. However, we have some really clever activities to help them to manage this. After they complete the ideation phase, they will jump right into prototype, which is where they will design, build, and test their solutions. Now, students can create a digital prototype, and they could also create a physical prototype. If they want to create a digital prototype, which could be a curriculum, website, or video game, they can do so, or physical prototype where they are actually grabbing craft materials and supplies and designing it. But both are acceptable within this phase. And I see a couple of questions. You will have access to these slides, yes, after this presentation. And Monty or Lisa, I'll let you take that second.
I'll take that
okay,
one.
Yeah.
We're overviewing our approach to design thinking. In next week's webinar, we will be going in depth on the design thinking process, and the final 2 weeks will be overviewing how to run and structure your challenge event. And so if you're really familiar with design thinking, showing up next week you may not need it. But we're spending the first piece for people that don't know design thinking, onboarding them, and then the last 2 weeks, heavy emphasis on running your challenge event. Does that help?
Yes, that's
Okay.
it. That's great. And then after they have completed the 3 phases, then they will jump into their pitch. Now, pitching is the opportunity for students to really sell their solution. As an English teacher for 9 years, I love teaching persuasive writing and persuasive strategies. And so this would be the time where this would overlap into the design thinking process. This is where they can use those narrative and storytelling conventions to really convince the audience that their solution can really make a difference in the world. And the goal is for students to, to really
I was just gonna jump in and say the pitch piece is a really important part of the challenge event. It's the culminating big event where students are sharing their ideas, and there's usually a panel of judges who's giving feedback and voting on top ideas, and maybe you might decide to award prizes or whatever. And whether that's done in person or virtually, or a combination of both, the pitching and helping students communicate their solutions is a really powerful moment, we found.
Absolutely. And we know that those oratorical skills are very important. Being able to public speak is very important. And so this will definitely help them with those skills. So it really helps them to set the stage, build suspense, and reveal their solution as the hero that solves the problem. All right, now I want to show with you some examples from this past May when we culminated our Jacobs Institute Changemaker Challenge. And we had students who participated from across the country and even the world. We had a team in Hong Kong and a team also in Aruba. Here are some examples of our social media posts from our teachers. And so you can see some of the Pactful activities, the affinity clusters, or you see students working on the computers. And over here you have I think it's a bubble community, a global bubble. Here we go. And so social media and of course the Pactful community are excellent ways for you to showcase the work that you're doing with your students, with other educators, and the community at large. And, we were really excited and fortunate that we had some teams that they were just so excited that they started their own Twitter channels and created their own videos that they could share throughout the world. And so we wanted to just share with you a couple of the videos that we received. And this is also from the Changemaker Challenge this past spring.
And can I just mention, this was in the middle of COVID. So we were really impressed with what these kids did.
Absolutely. And I'll just add in that as a teacher, I always loved when students really became motivated about the assignments and then took the initiative to go the extra mile. And so these were definitely examples of students who took Pactful and didn't just look at it as just a class assignment, but they looked at it as something meaningful and so much more, that they were motivated enough to share it with the world. And so that really
wasn't even their final pitch. That was just
right.
a little video they developed along the way once they formed their team. It was really cute.
That's right. Okay, so each week we are going to have you complete a challenge activity. And so I wanted to take a moment to share this week with you. Within the Pactful, and I'll say this, all of the week activities are posted within the Pactful community, and it is already up. And thank you, Monty, for providing the link for us in the chat box. We would like for you to, number one, to review the teacher's guide and the innovator's guides, which serve as resources for educators and for the students. And then after reviewing those, we would like for you to share thoughtful responses to a few questions or prompts. Number one, we want you to share your reflection on global social good innovation. Number two, after participating in the webinar and reviewing the guides, share with us what's the most exciting aspects of this for you, and what are you looking forward to in engaging in social good innovations, and do you have any reservations or concerns? And then lastly, some educators decide that they would like to create challenges that, instead of focusing on all 17 of the SDGs, they want to narrow it down to one. And so just thinking ahead for your challenge, we were just curious to know, would you leave it open for students to select their own global goal? Or do you think that you're leaning more towards you would rather have your students focus on one and then tell us why? We're just curious. And that's it. If there are no questions, Monty is going to do a quick demo for you on accessing Pactful. And so I'll turn it over to him at this time.
Okay, thank you, Alina. What I've just to leave on the screen here, for everyone's benefit, you've received a couple emails, including this morning's, that should have your custom class code. So as you registered for us, we actually created a custom class for you in Pactful that you can use now to get started and understand how the platform works. And ultimately that can be your class code that you can leverage and use to invite students in. So for students to join into your class, they just need your class code and a Google ID. That's also true for you the first time. When you first log in, you also need to use your class code. So each of you have your own, so they're not meant to be shared. Otherwise, you might get you could share them with people you want in your class. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Monty, Allison asked, how many classes can we conduct?
So that is a great question. Right now, we try to recommend only having one class within Pactful, and that's simply because, and there's actually an FAQ in the Pactful community, there's an FAQ that kind of explains this a little bit more in detail, Allison. So we ultimately can set up additional classes for you, but it's a little cumbersome to go back and forth between them. So it's just a little easier if you can get away with one. But if you go into the Pactful community, and I'll just show you here since we're talking about it, you go into the Pactful community under FAQs, there is a question here about, can I have more than one class? That sort of details how it works and what behaves, and you can kind of look at that, and maybe that'll help a little bit.
If you're running a challenge event, and let's say that there are 3 or 4 teachers at your school participating in that event, each teacher would have their own class code and their own class.
That's right.
So it wouldn't be everybody logging in under your account, for example.
Right. And we're happy to help you set up additional ones. I will tell you, actually coming soon, we're going to have the ability for teachers to self-register, so I don't have to get involved in creating classes and doing all that. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure that new educators will appreciate that as well. So I was just going to give you a quick little demo on the first couple of things. We won't go into detail today because we'll have other opportunities as the weeks progress. But if you go to the Pactful site, I just happen to have the campsite up. But if you go to pactful.org, and in the top right-hand corner, you can choose have a class code, create an account. If you've never logged in, you can choose that. Otherwise, you can choose sign in. That'll take you to, oops, I'm already signed in. It'll take you to a place where you can, let me go back just so we have a class code, create an account. This is what you will do the first time. This is also how your students will join your class. So I have a class code that's mine, and I agree to the terms, and then go ahead and sign up with Google. In this case, I had been logged in. And this is really the place that you will see for the first time. So as a student or a teacher, you'll see that there are no projects yet because this is a demo. And ultimately, this will be your ready for review, which is when projects come to you for review. But to get started, as we've been talking about today, really part of the challenge activity is to visit the Innovator's Guide, which is right up here in the top. You go to the Innovator's Guide, then you can get access to the other elements of Pactful that we've been talking about, including a Getting Started section where we have a little bit more information about what social good innovation is, design thinking, similar to what we just talked about, but it's just light content. You'll see this kind of throughout the system. And then there's a tab for global goals, and it kind of talks about the various global goals, what they mean, kind of highlights some information, giving some links to other places you can get more information, and then resources. And there's several things in here, including teaching and learning resources, and down here is the teacher's guide. So this teacher's guide continues to evolve as we go through, but this is really a long document that sort of helps you understand a lot of the concepts and information that will help in teachers. I will tell you, all these resources on this tab are available to everyone in the platform, so they're not unique to just teachers. Of course, the teacher guide is really intended for your use or for educators' use, but it's totally fine when students look at it. There's nothing in there that changes anything for them. So for this week's challenge activity, that's the main activity. And then I'll tell you one other piece in case you decide you want to start exploring further. If you go back to your homepage and you want to see some of the activities and how the content works, you can just create a fake project. So create a project, choose a global goal that is relevant to the work you're hoping to do. You may not know in this case, I'll just choose 17. And then you give yourself a team cool, give your team a cool team name. You can add other team members. That's really for students to be able to add other members in their class. And then I'll go ahead and just click create. And that takes you to that project's overview page, which really is this introduction to the 3 phases of design thinking that we use leading up into the pitch. And so for each one of these phases, you can click on the phase and you'll see the same 3 steps: explore, do, doc. Explore has the learning content, do has the activities that we make available for that phase, and then document is the process by which student teams can submit their evidence to you for review. So again, any project that you can use. If you don't have one, you can create one, create a project, and then you can always use this in order to look through the explore, do, doc for each of them. And they're all different, right? So the understand phase has different content than the prototype, etc. So they're all different and custom to that. And then that's really I think for today's purposes, that's all I really wanted to show you, is kind of walk you through that. And if you have any questions now or later, please let me know. I can't actually see the chat right now, so I don't know where that is. There it is. Any
questions are on your mind right now after hearing our presentation?
Oh, Lisa broke up there for a second. But
And
really,
feel free to talk in voice or chat.
Yeah.
I did want to add in regards to the challenge activity for this week, that if everyone could get their responses posted by Tuesday in the community, then but before the next session, if you could respond to at least 2 other individual posts in regards to their responses as well. We want to encourage interactivity between our students who are, well, not students, our educators who are participating in this teacher camp. So if you could, please do that. But that is also noted in the Pactful community as well. I see a question from Sarah. What does the teacher view look like when you have an entire class of students in the project?
So typically, Sarah, we would recommend that our recommendation is usually that you have teams of between 3 and 6 students. So each project, in this case, I'm the only person on this team, but I can add other people. I don't have anyone in my demo class, but I can add other people from my class to my project. So you'll have, in theory, if you have 20 students, you may have 5, 6 teams. It depends on your organization and what it looks like. So they'll be different, and then you'll see them, and we'll have plenty of time to kind of go through this as we progress through camp, but then you would see all your class projects right here. And if they have a call to action, if they've submitted something for you to review, there'll be a little icon to let you know that. So you have multiple, one for each student team, and it would be aligned to one of the global goals.
And there was a question about
and a different student group able to focus on an SDG of their choice, or is that always predetermined? That was actually kind of the part of the challenge activity that Lena laid out. It's really up to you. We built the system, if you will, and the curriculum to support the student choice and letting them choose any of the 17. We have had other people who were aligned with a different an existing challenge event or something was happening in their community, and they'd all pre-chosen one goal for another reason. So it really was up to you. And I think that's part of the dialogue. We would love to get through this week's challenge event to kind of get feedback on that.
Yeah, so as you think about your challenge event, the goals of it, what do you hope to achieve with it? Is there a larger issue maybe in your community that you're wanting everybody in the challenge to focus on with multiple solutions? Or is it really just about allowing the kids to work on individual goals and individual solutions? And that's totally up to you and your organization of it.
And Allison mentioned that we are all students right now. That's true in here. That also may be true in Pactful when you first sign in. As you've signed into your classes, I've been upgrading you to a teacher behind the scenes. That's not something that will really matter right now. It would matter if you actually had students in your class too. And really the only functional difference there is you get the same view as the students. You can create a project, you can view, but of course as the teacher, you get the call to action when a student team submits something for feedback or review. Students don't get that. They get a call to action when you've replied or sent something back to them. And again, that's a feedback loop, and we see lots of instances where it goes back and forth. Sometimes teachers support students. They want them to wait till they kind of complete all the activities at once. Sometimes they let them do it along the way. It's totally up to you.
Yeah. I wonder if I could address, and this is partly a technical question about the SDG goals that we would be choosing. Myself, when I look at them, and often when I'm looking at SDG goals with students, we see how these are all interconnected. I'm actually not solving for just this problem. So when that comes up and we recognize that from a technical perspective, are we able to drop in all the different SDG goals that we're sort of think that we're meeting, or I guess that's something that can develop as we go. We might decide we're speaking to one versus another.
So any project that exists can be updated anytime, so you can change the goal, but for now, projects are aligned with one SDG. We've talked about what that could look like because we recognize the same thing that you do, that projects don't always just hit one, but I'd say that for now we would ask that you to help encourage them to find the one that fits best. Okay. And if that changes as their project changes, that's fine, that's great. Feel free to update and make adjustments.
Okay, thank you. There was another question about the pitch part of it. When we're preparing students on pitching, what are some visions right now about pitches? Because certainly it would be possible to coalesce some stakeholders within our community if it's community-based, or does Pactful envision having resources of, folks to pitch to, or?
We'll actually be spending one webinar going through the pitch event.
Oh yeah,
and you're thinking around the structure of that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. The software or the curriculum will not only help the students, I mean, we walk them through step by step. What is a pitch? What are the sections of the pitch? How do you build your pitch? How do you practice your pitch? So all of that is covered in the curriculum. And then it will really, it's like the art and craft on your side of thinking about what is this larger community event? Is it for parents? Is it for people in my school? It may, if you're thinking about a particular issue that you and your kids are going to tackle, maybe it's experts or community members related to that issue. And so I really encourage you as you're thinking about the larger goal that you want your students to tackle, where does that fit? Is it a global goal? Is it a local goal or problem? And then based on that, who are the people that I would want to invite? And definitely, I mean, when we've held pitch events, we've invited industry people, we've invited people from the County Office of Education, we've had superintendents, you know, it could be a variety of people judging.
And you could invite us too.
And it's funny, when we had the Changemaker Challenge last spring, we actually had budgeted for a place-based event, like a big auditorium, judges. We had travel money built in the budget. And then COVID hit, and the whole thing had to be put online with students submitting videos.
Save a lot of money.
You know, and so sometimes you adapt on the fly, but there are a lot of options for thinking about how to host that pitch event. And we'll be walking through all of that and all of the things you need to think about just in terms of that event.
Yeah, I mean, really, these are all these, it's all kind of leading up to helping you create a challenge event in your classroom or community and what that looks like. So as this evolves and continues and your thinking evolves, feel free to, and then, you know, you have access to this whole group and others who have participated in various ways. So there's lots of great brain power throughout that are not just any single one of us.
Judy, that's a great question. I ask myself, who needs to see this work?
And I often ask the children as well, right? Because they're learning. This is important to them to some degree. And so, you know, as I create projects and opportunities for them, or when we're co-creating together, that's one of the things that we want to say, you know, who needs to see this? Who needs to be in the room so that their voices, you know, can be projected and amplified to the people that really need to see it.
Great point.
Yeah, so I do see the value in the teacher actually picking one global goal. I mean, I see the value on both sides, because when you focus on one problem, let's say we're going to focus on blue economy in San Diego, it becomes very easy for me to think about people that are involved in ocean related issues and having those people show up at a pitch event, right? Versus if everybody's doing everything, your audience becomes a lot broader. So
sometimes what I do is I use the classroom to focus on one goal so they get an understanding of the framework and how it works. They're just kind of like a basic foundational understanding. But once they grasp that, then they can bring their own voice to the next iteration. And that's when you can kind of expose them to the varied US goals that are out there. So first wrap their head around one basic concept and then flourish.
This is all new to me, but I was just thinking in terms of, like, as an English teacher, one of our novels is The Outsiders, which deals with poverty. And now the fact that we're dealing with our COVID poverty, I thought that would be a great one to begin with, and to do what David just said in terms of establishing some basic understanding of framework.
sounds really powerful, Shay. So now you're overlaying on top of that already existing curriculum. Yeah.
Definitely. Are there any more questions or comments?
If you don't mind, Alina, I wanted to go to Shay's question because he was talking about The Outsiders, and I think it's so fun because I not only remember reading it over and over and over again when I was in middle school, but use it as well. And it's like this great intro book for the kids when they come in the classroom because they always love it. And then to find out that it was written by a teenager, right? So, and that afterwards, helps with all of this. And one of the things, because poverty is an issue, but there's also that othering that is happening throughout the book, isn't there? And that sense of, oh, well, these guys are the bad guys. No, the other guys think that they're the bad guys. And what is the trauma that's happening on both sides? Where it's a really neat thing to focus on, because that's one of the design challenges that we have right now, isn't it?
Like Allison, like you said before, you're going to look at how this is so sticky and it connects to other subjects. So English as a language and language literacy connects to the literacy of access to education, those goals. So there's a lot of overlap, but that's where the creative and innovative play comes in.
Well, I was just thinking good literature has to deal with human condition, right? And I assume these 17, I haven't, this is all new to me, but so I just think in terms of even reading like the Diary of Anne Frank, in terms of our quarantine and things like that, I think there'll be a new appreciation for her experience, right? So then being able to link it with one of the 17.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, since we're talking about it, we do have a list that we'll be posting soon that covers, that links books that students can read to the SDGs and design thinking, and for educators as well, because there is a great big overlap there. And so we'll be sharing that with you. I love that, the applause.
I want one of those signs.
I do too.
Are we at the end of our session, Alina? Because I have
yes,
one final.
Yes, we are.
I always like to end with just a final processing. So if you feel open to sharing in voice or chat, a final takeaway, a question, a comment, or a big idea that you picked up today that you didn't have before. I'd love to hear what you're taking away from today. Anybody feel like sharing in voice?
I have a quick thought. They talk about project-based learning and things like that, but sometimes it feels like artificial and we manufacture things. And the fact that these are actually dealing with real relevance, I think the kids will have more buy-in because I think these kids are more savvy to that real world problems are just that real in real time. And so I really appreciate you guys for putting the time.
Thank you.
Allison said she's excited to have the support network to do what I've been wanting to do. Love Pactful's simple and elegant approach to design. David, hello?
I blame Shay. He distracted me. He had the applause sign up and he totally cracked me up because we were doing the physical applause and he just happened to have the applause sign right there.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
I blame Shay.
Okay, looks like everyone's leaving. Thank you so much again for your time and attention. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.